in the Rakanifi on the 15th of August 2024 were extremely anxious when they were told some of the provisions which are in this bill. The reporting may not have been accurate, but the information to them was that there was a law being formulated to regulate the growing of dengue in the country, but that law was not taken to them for approval, and therefore, including myself, we have been instructed to actually reject this bill. Number two, when we look at the public participation, even by the Committee on Agriculture, it was through adverts. Adverts were placed in the papers. The public did not respond, apart from a few corporations which have interest in the crop, including the research institutions. The net effect was this: we have a bill that has not undergone proper public participation. This bill should actually be withdrawn. It should actually be rejected by this House if it cannot be withdrawn, so that first and foremost we have proper public participation. Take the bill to the Raka so that it goes round. Take the bill to Kitui County, take it to Meru, Embu, Kirinyaga, Taita Taveta, Kitui, Machakos, and Makwene, so that citizens can actually discuss the contents of the bill. Number two, I oppose the bill because it does not seem to address the problems that bedevil this crop to the root. The Committee on Agriculture has made very important observations that the crop, in spite of being grown widely, does not fetch a lot in the market. This is because we have not had proper production, husbandry of the crop, and also the government has not given the support that is required. The net effect is, if we are to have a law on the dengue beans or the mung beans or whatever they are called, or whatever they are going to be called, then we must see clearly what role the government is going to play. If farmers are to be registered so that they get government help on growing this crop, the mode must be clearly set out so that there is no misinformation. Because the misinformation that is doing the rounds in the counties is that you will not be able to grow dengue unless you are registered with the county government. And that failure to register with the county government will attract a fine of not more than 1 million shillings or a prison term of 2 years or both. That may not be elected from this bill. But farmers need to understand exactly why they are being called upon to actually register. We must also have clearly defined roles of those persons who actually buy dengue, and they are known as brokers. These are the people who have actually confined the growers of dengue, including those in the Raka, to prices. Therefore, we must have regulations on how the pricing, the marketing, and everything else that goes with the selling of the crop is regulated. Another reason why I oppose this bill is that it has provisions regarding what the county governments are supposed to do. And those provisions are elaborate. That the county government will do this and that. The county government is prescribed to do as follows. The net effect of which is for the House of Parliament to make rules and regulations regarding county governments. I do not think this House has the power to do so, because counties are devolved units and they have their own assemblies. It is those assemblies that are supposed to make laws governing what county governments do. Therefore, in as much as the Agriculture Committee has proposed elaborate amendments to the bill. I still feel this bill is not properly done. It was not properly drafted. In fact, the Senate never thought through about this bill. It has found itself here when it is half-baked. We must remove that half-baking by actually returning this bill to the Senate so that they can give it a proper consideration. Once a proper bill is formulated through proper public participation and we are made to contribute to it, we will no doubt support it, because the dengue crop requires a very elaborate law that is going to help us grow this crop. We are able to produce it, and we are able to. India, the crop is actually grown in what I would term as systematic production. Here in Kenya, it is grown as ad hoc. We must bring this to an end. With those remarks, I do oppose the bill.
John Waluke, are you for this bill?
No, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm not contributing on this.
Beatrice Elachi, are you for this bill? No.
No, Speaker.
Maina Madenge, are you for this bill?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Jerry Maina, are you for this bill?
No, Speaker.
Daniel Carrido, are you for this bill?
No, Mr. Speaker.
Then get off the screen. Kuria Kimani, are you for this bill? Justice Kemei, are you for this bill? The Dengue bill. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice to the mung beans bill. Mr. Speaker, the bill, when it came from the Senate, we looked at it as a Committee of Agriculture. And indeed, the way the Honorable Murongaru puts it, we made quite a number of changes to be able to support the Senate who originated the bill. When we did this, Mr. Speaker, we recognized that mung beans, or ndengu, as is famously known in this country, is a very critical crop when it comes to food nutrition and when it comes to food self-sufficiency in this country. And given a regulatory environment that is ideal, we will be able to meet the objectives of having this crop in this country. Mr. Speaker, the issue of public participation has come in. We as a Committee of Agriculture did our level best within the confines of the time given in terms of preparation of the bill. Let me put it very clearly, Mr. Speaker, that we are not in bringing this bill to Parliament asking for the formation of another parastatal to govern the growth and marketing of mung beans. We are simply saying, let's have the crop included among the scheduled crops which are being handled by the Agriculture and Food Authority in this country. That way, we will be able to make sure that the environment in which it is promoted, the environment in which it is grown, the environment in which it is marketed is governed by the laws of this country. The concerns raised by Honorable Murongaru were addressed. And we would wish that instead of us throwing away the bill, let us look at it at the committee stage and make the necessary recommendations so that this bill can be used to improve the growth of mung beans in this country. With those few remarks, Mr. Speaker, I do support and maybe ask my colleague who is in front of me to bring in the changes he so desires so that we can have this crop governed in terms of regulatory purposes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mutuse, are you for this bill? No,
Mr. Speaker, I can contribute.
not you can. Are you?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to the Mang Beans bill, which is a Senate bill. Mr. Speaker, as you are aware, Ndengu is majorly grown in the southeastern region of this country, Tharaka and other ASO regions. And therefore, it is an important crop in terms of the household economies of the constituents whom I represent. Mr. Speaker, principally, we support the fact that we need a legal regime to regulate the production, marketing, and value addition for Mang beans rather than Ndengu, so that our farmers can maximize on their farming. As you would appreciate, Mr. Speaker, currently, Ndengu is neither classified as a food crop, neither is it classified as a cash crop. And for that purpose, and for the lack of a legal regime, there has never been a channel for government funds, taxpayers' money to assist farmers in terms of how they farm, produce, market, and value add Ndengu. And therefore, principally, we support this law for that particular purpose. And I would wish to agree with members who have raised concerns in terms of the possibility of levying farmers. And I know because I have discussed with farmers in my constituency. Farmers are averse that should the law pass in its current form, there will be levied monies so that growing Ndengu will become a privilege of a few because it will attract levies. And rather than throwing away the bath water with the baby, I am of the opinion that we can propose amendments at the committee stage so that we cure some of these rather oppressive provisions in the Senate bill. Mr. Speaker, secondly, where I come from, our people do not farm coffee. Our people are not farming cotton as it should be. Our people are not farming tea. And therefore, essentially, there is need to have pulses, which are Ndengu, peas, and others, including fruits in future, as a cash crop for that particular region. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I support the proposed Mang Beans bill with amendments. We will also be proposing at the committee stage, Mr. Speaker, that we change the title of the bill from Mang Beans to Ndengu, because I am sure many in this country, including members of parliament, are hearing Mang Beans for the first time. It is a strange word. And there is no need to import words from other jurisdictions when already in Kenya, we know that Ndengu is Ndengu. So we will also be proposing amendments so that it is no longer Mang Beans bill. We'll be proposing that we call it Ndengu bill, so that if this also so passes it, then it will be the Ndengu Act. Mr. Speaker, with that, I support and will be proposing amendments to cure some of the oppressive provisions that have been highlighted by our people through media, and also by reading the law, realizing the issue of levies and the issue of the title. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now there is no more. Charles Nguzia. Oh, sorry.
Thank you,
Nguzia
Mr. Speaker.
and
Mr.
Milemba,
Speaker,
you are not on the screen.
from
though.
the onset, let me say I'm supporting this bill, Mr. Speaker. But with the reservation that we need to make some amendments as put by Honorable Murugara. Mr. Speaker, let me start by thanking our Senator Kitui County who came up with this bill. And I think it was for the importance of our people, the farmers actually growing this Mang bean or Ndengu, the way we have put it, Mr. Speaker. Some of the objective actually was to promote the productivity of this crop and generate higher income for the farmers. And others was to provide for framework for the implementation of this effective marketing strategy, Mr. Speaker. With all these factors, Mr. Speaker, I have listened very carefully to one of my colleagues who actually went through it. And I concur in totality that we need more public participation in order for this bill actually to go through, Mr. Speaker. But let me put, there was a lot of negative publicity on this bill, but I urge the members actually to read what is in the bill before opposing it, because I think it is very important, Mr. Speaker. It has gone to the extent of even setting the duties of the authorities who are supposed to be here, and I have gone through them. They are keenly okay. Duties of the county executive, which is actually agriculture is a devolved function. And Mr. Speaker, I don't have much to say, but I'll be going through this bill and proposing some of the amendments which are contentious, especially the fees levies being done on it. With those few remarks, I support.
Mulemba,
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. From where I come from, the mung beans are not grown. But having been a keen follower of the matters of this bill, and I was there when the bill was moved, Honorable Speaker, I want to report to you that one item I noticed about the bill when it was being moved by the Chair Agriculture, the bill itself was far much shorter.
Zengu.
Yes.
Yes.
The bill itself was far much shorter than what was later added on by the committee members in terms of proposal, amendments, and the other issues that they wanted to change on that particular bill. In fact, the committee itself had a much longer story than the bill itself. That was the first thing I noticed. Number two, Honorable Speaker, I had the privilege of sitting where you are that particular day, and I had to call one of the professionals in agriculture to ask, what are these mung beans? Because I did not know what mung beans were. So I was later told this was ndengu. But later on the next day, what I noticed is that the publicity this bill had was extremely negative. And it looked like the way it was being framed, especially for those members of parliament who come from areas where these beans are grown on ndengu, it looked like the farmers feel and know that if the bill goes through, then there will be punitive aspects to them to pay for them to grow the crop. And I noticed that there was no understanding between the people whom the bill was being made for and the bill itself per se. And therefore, it looked like there were royalties being put on the people who will be growing these ndengus. I propose that two things have to happen for the sake of a good bill and for the farmers of the mung beans or dengu. That either the committee must take it up very thoroughly and do extreme total change, including the title possibly, or we take it back to the Senate so that it's properly done with public participation. Honorable Speaker, I think I take the second option. I see a situation whereby somebody knows a good idea, but has not shared with the people on the ground. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Phyllis Barto, are you for this? There being no interest in further contributions, I call the mover to reply. Where is Honorable Nzengu? Why has he orphaned his own bill? Clerk. Honorable members will defer the bill to be put on the order paper for Thursday for the mover to reply. Those who have an interest, tell Honorable Nzengu to come and reply to the bill. Next order.
Order number 10, the coffee bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, second reading.
Majority Leader. Owen, is it you? Dr. Mutunga, you are the one moving?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Honorable Chair. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I stand to move the coffee bill, which is the Senate Bill number 10 of 2023. Honorable Speaker, This bill was read the first time on 16th of April 2024 and subsequently committed to the Committee on Agriculture and Livestock Development for consideration. Honorable Speaker, the committee has considered this bill and invited stakeholders for public participation to submit memoranda and their comments on the bill, and the same has been captured in the revised version of the bill and will be brought to this House during the third reading. Honorable Speaker, a brief background on the coffee industry in this country. Coffee, Honorable Speaker, was first planted in Kenya upon introduction in Taita Hills at a place called Bura. That was in 1893. In 1900, coffee was planted at Voi under irrigation on trial basis. And later on, in 1904, it was planted in Kikuyu. That is how coffee found itself in the Kenyan Islands. Honorable Speaker, today, coffee is grown in 33 counties out of 47. So it's really a crop that is of socioeconomic nature in most of the counties of this country. It is grown by not less than 800,000 smallholder farmers and not less than 4,000 estates, which means it is both an estate or land scale and a small scale older crop. In the 1980s, Kenya was a leading exporter in the region on coffee. But now, coffee is number 3 in terms of our exports after tea and horticulture. There is, however, great potential for coffee to get back home as the leader crop in terms of export, because we have what it takes. We have the good soils, we have good varieties innovated by our research institutions, we have good farmers who can produce coffee, and we have the right climate. What has been missing in this country, or what has affected the coffee farmers, are the challenges that I might wish to outline, Honorable Speaker. One of the key challenges the farmers of this country face is that coffee is low income earning, despite being a high income crop. Kenyan coffee is very high standard, is of very high quality, is a preferred commodity across the globe. In fact, in most of the outlets, Kenyan coffee would find itself as a specialty crop in most of the prestigious markets. There is also delayed payment to the farmers as a challenge, and in most cases, the payments are meager. And that's one of the things that has affected the farmers of this country. The other issue, Honorable Speaker, is the mismanagement of the cooperatives through which the Kenyan farmers process their coffee. Coffee is initially taken to the primary cooperatives where the primary processing, or what is called pulping, takes place. So the other issue that has been affecting the Kenyan farmers is the lack of direct access by the farmers themselves to the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. This is the coffee trading platform. Lack of access makes the farmers not understand exactly what happens, and therefore deals cut around there probably may impact upon them negatively. Honorable Speaker, in the initial stages, coffee have performed very well in this country. Kenya lags behind countries like Ethiopia and Uganda in terms of production, and in some cases, productivity. Productivity in the sense that we are looking at the yield per tree and production in terms of the collective total that we produce. Honorable Speaker, smallholder farmers who place on the market 70% of the coffee that we sell suffer poorer productivity and higher production costs compared to the estates. In this case, it is expensive to produce coffee on a small scale. This is mainly due to the governance issues that you find in the cooperatives, as I mentioned earlier, the insufficiency of the cherry processing, which burdens smallholder farmers with higher processing costs. Lack of transparency within the factories themselves and the management attributes, and therefore the farmers do not get to know the exact reality about their crop. Productivity of coffee in this country, Honorable Speaker, is very low. I wish to state that on average, a Kenyan coffee tree, Kenyan farmer coffee tree, would give us 2 kilos per tree, when we have the potential to get 20 kilos per tree, or even more. Honorable Speaker, on a small scale level, we can only get 2 kilos per tree. On large scale, because they have been able to improve a little bit on the management, we are able to get about 4 kilos per tree. That is still very little compared to what is possible. We should aim at not less than 20 kilos per tree because it is possible and it is happening right here in Kenya. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, value addition for coffee has been very low. We are utilizing only 30% of the installed capacity to process coffee in this country, which means we have capacity to process a lot of coffee, but 70% of that capacity lays idle. Honorable Speaker, on the other hand, when you look at the milling, the removal of parchment from the bean, the milling aspect of it, Honorable Speaker, we are only utilizing 13% of the installed capacity, which means 87% of the capacity stays idle. And this is because coffee was abandoned by the farmers out of the problems that I've highlighted. So value addition is poor, and therefore it means that most of the coffee in this country is not value added. Honorable Speaker, our consumption capacity as at now is 5% of the coffee that we produce. That means we sell 95% of the coffee. What that tells you is that the low processing capacity or value addition capacity of the country has only been able to turn around 5%, which we consume as a country. The rest of the coffee we sell as raw materials for others to process. We export jobs. Honorable Speaker, we need to embark on processing coffee in this country so that we can be able to employ our youth. There are several government interventions that are noteworthy. The government of Kenya has set up what we are calling Cherry Advance Revolving Fund through the Coffee General Regulations of 2019. This revolving fund is supposed to stabilize the prices of coffee. Honorable Speaker, as we speak, already about 5.2 billion shillings have been moved to the farmers through payments of at least 80 shillings per kilo through the use of this fund. However, these measures have not significantly turned the sector around as we expect, so productivity is still low and production is low. Honorable Speaker, we cannot miss out from comparing coffee in Kenyan coffee with the other countries and other sectors. The Kenya's position on coffee globally is very, very low. Kenya's coffee sector continues to be a vital part of the country's economy, yet we have not been able to capture our market. Honorable Speaker, we lost our quota in the world market. Kenya was exporting more than 120,000 metric tons of coffee, but we lost that quota because of mismanagement of the factories and of unbearance on the farmers on costs. Honorable Speaker, we lag behind a country like Uganda and our neighbor Ethiopia in terms of this processing of coffee and in terms of the turnaround amounts. In terms of productivity, as I said earlier, we are only able to realize 2 kilos on a small scale basis as a country, and we are also able to realize 4 kilos when it comes to large scale production. Other countries in our neighborhood are able to realize more. And Honorable Speaker, this is something we need to look at, and this is a mischief that has been cured through this particular bill. Honorable Speaker, when you look at market access, unlike Kenya, where smallholder farmers have limited access to the coffee exchange, other countries' farmers are able to access their coffee exchange platforms. That is something that needs to be looked into. When it comes to variety development, in terms of crop development, production of varieties through research, coffee research is domiciled in Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization as one of the research institutes. This is a specialized entity which should be reporting to a specific board to deal out the issues of productivity in terms of coming up with better varieties which are suited to better environments. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, this bill has come up to cure that particular mischief as well. Honorable Speaker, the donor dependency on the research institution, especially the Coffee Research Institute, ends up messing up or shifting the agenda. The agenda is influenced in the negative. It does not give us what we actually need. Honorable Speaker, the effects of all this is such that what brought all these issues is the first, the abolition of the coffee research levy, which was around 2% of the coffee sold in 2016. That research levy, which was supporting our research institution to come up with better varieties like SL28, SL27, I mean K7, Ruiru 11 and others, was abolished. Therefore, we did lose about 50% of the amount of money set to the coffee production or production research and productivity research in this country. And Honorable Speaker, the Research Institute does not only produce better coffee varieties. The Research Institute goes further to produce, to innovate, to do technological development, produce technologies for coffee, basically also come up with innovations and management practices. And these management practices are transferred to the farmers so that they can be able to deliver a better, crop in the sector. Honorable Speaker, let me just highlight a few issues on the bill itself. The current status is such that coffee is managed under the Agriculture and Food Authority as one of the directorates within AFA. AFA has been managing the crop development, the promotion, the marketing, and the regulation of the production and marketing of the coffee in this country. This bill comes in with very specific objectives. And one of the objectives, Honorable Speaker, is to promote a globally competitive coffee industry. Make sure that the Kenyan coffee is globally competitive. It also purposes to provide a framework for the registration and licensing of various players within the coffee sector. So the licensing and the registration is very well captured in the bill. It also comes in to delineate the roles of the national government and the roles of the county government and the roles of the regulatory institutions and the role of research, as it were. We have specifically, in this particular bill, as identified the Coffee Research Institutes, and it transformed it into a Coffee Research and Training Institute. It's going to be a Coffee Research and Training Institute because it will be conducting training on technologies, innovations, and management practices, so that our farmers can be able to get better varieties to produce based on the agroecologies and based on the sizes of the farm, so that you can intensify on productivity for us to get better production. Therefore, there is a specific objective to promote evidence-based coffee research and the delivery of extension services towards development of the coffee sector. And this is where we are talking about production of technologies, innovations, and management practices. The final objective, Honorable Speaker, is to provide a framework for the establishment of Coffee Development Levy. Coffee Development Levy will be established to basically look at how do we support the research in coffee, how do we support the regulatory function, how do we support the marketing function. One of the things we've not done well in this country is marketed our coffee. There are many outlets in this world which buy our coffee as green bean and therefore use it for elite market. It fetches a lot of money out there, and we are not able to benefit from that kind of money because we sell our coffee as raw green bean. Honorable Speaker, when you look at this particular bill, first of all, the first thing that the bill does is to try and transfer regulations from the Agriculture and Food Authority, the regulation of the coffee from the Agriculture and Food Authority to the Coffee Board of Kenya. We are recreating the Coffee Board of Kenya. On the other hand, Honorable Speaker, the research function of the Coffee Research Institute has been hived out of the Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization and placed directly under the Coffee Board of Kenya so that it may be better instructed to deliver for this particular industry. Honorable Speaker, the Coffee Board is established to regulate the industry, managed by the board and the CEO, with clear functions, delegated authority, as well as powers. And these are captured on the first four from the fourth clause to the 22nd clause. It's a very comprehensive bill. Honorable Speaker, the county government functions are effectively captured between 23rd and 25th clauses, and they are basically majoring on enacting local coffee laws for the county or county-specific coffee laws and the registration of various, licensing of the variety of operators within the county. So we have made provisions for the registration of the variety of operators within every county. In terms of the regulation provision, Honorable Speaker, this covers the production itself and the registration of various operators, various growers, various millers, the roasters, the processors, and licensing various entities that would like to do business in coffee, as well as regular reporting. And this is captured in clauses 26 to 38 of the bill. Honorable Speaker, in terms of production and processing, the proposed legislation basically governs production, as it were, governs material import and material export of coffee, the certification processes, the traceability, which is very key in terms of international trading systems today. They demand to know and even how it was produced and how the social issues were taken care of. Was it produced by children? If it was produced by children or people who are under compulsion of some nature, they will not take that coffee. So they would like to know from which farm was it produced. So the bill is very careful to capture the traceability aspect. Honorable Speaker, coffee trending and marketing is also very well captured, and this is under the 49 to 39 to 59 clauses of the bill, which basically looks at the regulation at the local level, regulation at the national level, regulation of coffee at the international level, in terms of the trending patterns and in terms of the various aspects that need to be regulated and licensed, as well as the management of the exchange and the settlement to the farmers in terms of payment. That has also been very well captured in this particular bill. Quality assurance, Honorable Speaker, has also been very well captured in terms of ensuring compliance with the quality standards at the various levels through inspection and controls. And this has been captured in the bill if you look at clauses 63 to 60, not clauses 60 to 62. Financial provisions of the coffee industry. This has also been very well captured. It specifies the funding, the various types of funding, including and development levy, which has been very well specified in the bill, and also the routine audits, which basically secures the fund and ensures the fund has done the right job. This is captured in clauses 63 to 68. Honorable Speaker, Coffee Research and Training Institute, which I mentioned, has also been very well taken care of, which focuses on coffee research and training based in Kiambu, where it has always been, towards production and the dissemination of technologies, innovations, and management practices. Honorable Speaker, finally, the coffee bill talks about the financial provisions of the institute, which are provided for, and then the miscellaneous and transitional arrangement. Transitional arrangement because we have the staff who are right now in the coffee directorate. These staff members, the properties or the assets and liabilities of the coffee sector will need to transit from the Agriculture and Food Authority to the Coffee Board of Kenya. So the transition arrangement are captured very well in clauses 92 to 107. That is the extent to which the bill has been covered. Honorable Speaker, to close my submission, my comments on the bill, even as I move, let me just discuss a few issues. What are the key deliverables in this particular bill? What are the expectations to the Kenyans, especially the Kenyan farmer? The bill promotes evidence-based coffee research and delivery of extension services for the development of the coffee sector. So we shall have a consistent and sustainable research system that is going to deliver a better sector than before. It also focuses on addressing the governance issues in the cooperatives, which has been really the problem, which has been the cancer in this particular sector. And also, it looks at addressing the inefficiencies in the processing and reducing the costs to improve on productivity, particularly for the smallholder farmers who are really overburdened by the cost within the industry. In terms of regulations, Honourable Speaker, the bill proposes transitioning the regulatory and commercial roles currently undertaken by AFA to the board. It also additionally seeks to transit the research of coffee, from what I said, Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization to the institute, the Research and Training Institute. It also provides a framework for the establishment of the Coffee Development Levy, which is a fund that will sustain activities within the coffee. It also identifies the variety of institutions that will be participating in this particular industry. And these include, there are several legislations on our speaker that are supportive to this particular legislation. And I wish to mention a few of them. The Crops Act is key. The AFA Act is key. Cooperative Societies Act is key. The Kauro Act, they will be somehow influenced by this particular bill. There are certain amendments. The Capital Markets Authority Act, as well as they are also going to be, and the amended version of the 2016 Capital Markets Authority is going to be also affected. And the authority to regulate spot commodity markets, such as the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, has been given by this particular bill. The Warehouse Receipting System, as it were, Act of 2019, has also been invoked in this particular legislation, where the Act provides for the warehousing of agricultural goods in government warehouse. Actually regarded as green gold. In terms of promotion, Honourable Speaker, the bill aims at promoting globally competitive coffee industry by providing the framework for the registration and licensing of various players along the value chain. It also promotes the vertical integration of the coffee value chain at the production level and achieves economies of scale in managing the risk within the coffee industry. Honourable Speaker, the bill also got memoranda from the Nairobi Coffee Exchange itself, the Capital Markets Authority, a certain farmer called Mr. Caleb Kipyegon, the Council of Governors submitted their memoranda, Kenya Association of Manufacturers were there, Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development, the Kenya Export Promotion and Branding Agency, or KEBROPA, also promoted their memoranda, as well as the Coffee Reforms Steering Committee, which was involved in going through the coffee study of the coffee itself. So the stakeholders' feedback on our speaker, I may wish to highlight a few as I close. Most of the stakeholders supported the enactment of the Coffee Bill 2023. They said it's a good way to move, good way forward, and they also indicated that we need to adopt this particular legislation. They also observed that the Coffee Board of Kenya, would increase efficiency in the sector due to reduced bureaucracy and also expedient processes. Honorable Speaker, they were keen on improving farmer income through fair pricing. They were keen on better market access. They were very particular on improving the farming techniques and also very particular on enhancing the global competitiveness because it is because of the improved quality of the coffee itself and the issue of traceability. Honorable Speaker, there are certain amendments that this bill has basically brought about. And these amendments, the stakeholders proposed amendments aimed at enriching the bill itself, such as ensuring there is no overlap in mandates between the county and the national government. There is no overlaps in mandate between the different institutions. It also basically provided incentives such as tax holiday for some of the prospective investors in this particular sector, where that which would lead to reduction of the corporate tax rate for new coffee processors in order to motivate processors to come and process coffee in this country. As we said, only about 13% of the processing capacity is utilized, as it were. Honorable Speaker, as I close, I'd like to thank my committee for the work they did and thank the Speaker and the supporting God from the Secretariat. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I wish to move.
Seconder, who's your seconder? You haven't invited your seconder. Who's your seconder, Honorable Mutunga?
Honorable Speaker, I would like to ask the Deputy Leader Majority to second.
Thank you.
But I was supposed to move. I asked him to move.
Yeah, I don't know if he knows anything about coffee, but
Honorable Speaker,
hopefully you briefed him.
Honorable Speaker, I would like to put it on record. This is a bill by the Leader of Majority. And this office was supposed to move this bill, but I asked Dr. Mutunga to do that. And then that he allows that I do it on second him on behalf of the Leader of Majority, which is proper. So allow.
That's definitely not, and I get the context.
So allow
Thank
the
you.
Majority's office to be heard on
Yes.
this. Then now others can debate
I agree.
whether
I
I
get
know
the
how to farm
context
coffee
now.
or not. Honorable Speaker, thank you very much. Honorable Speaker, I beg to second that the Coffee Bill 2023, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, be read for the second time. Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the Departmental Committee on Agriculture and Livestock for the remarkable job they did in looking and dissecting this bill and bringing it here so that it goes for the second reading. The Honorable Speaker, the bill proposes to reorganize the coffee industry by transitioning the regulatory and commercial roles currently undertaken by AFA, the Agricultural Food Authority, to the Coffee Board of Kenya. Honorable Speaker, this bill further seeks to transition the research of coffee currently undertaken by the Coffee Research Institute under the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization to the Coffee Research Institute. Honorable Speaker, the chairman has highlighted some of the key parts and aspects of this bill, but I don't want to go into that, but just to say a few things, Honorable Speaker, that the bill provides, Honorable Speaker, for the establishment of the Coffee Board of Kenya. You remember when we were young, there used to be a program on radio, and you'd hear a song on Coffee Board of Kenya. Meaning, therefore, that particular time, coffee was being managed by an authority, by an organization that looked and knew and drank and slept and ate only coffee. And it thrived because there was this organization that looked after coffee and everything about coffee. This was also about other crops, tea, pyrethrum, and other organizations. But this parliament, in its wisdom, brought something called AFA and bundled all of them into one body. And this animal called AFA has actually cannibalized some of the crops, and the development of these crops, Honorable Speaker, have been stunted because of that decision. Honorable Speaker, it is important, Honorable Speaker, that
What's your point of order, Honorable Mutunga?
Tunga, next time I won't allow you to move a bill.
Honorable Speaker, I've had some references to Alpha as an animal. I was involved in the formation of Alpha. I was in the interim management committee.
Yes, yes.
We did not form an animal. We
Okay.
formed a parastatal, a state corporation called Agriculture and Food Authority. Are the honorable members in order to say that Alpha is an animal?
Honorable Speaker, you know, if you're not a
I
native,
think that was said in jest.
is not a
Let's
native
proceed.
speaker of English, he may not understand English idioms. So I want to put him in his place. Honorable
Honorable
Speaker,
Mutunga, you have been given sufficient opportunity to canvass this issue. I think let's allow others.
Honorable Speaker, this bill also provides, as you read the bits, for the role of county governments to enact county-specific legislations so that they can, those counties that are growing coffee, they can have county-specific legislation on coffee to move the crop forward and ensure that coffee takes its center stage in this country as one of the key agricultural crops, and that spurs economic development. For example, Honorable Speaker, coffee, if you go to America, you go to all parts of the world, they'll talk about Kenyan coffee. And we have an obligation to the world to ensure that this taste, this unique taste of Kenyan coffee still is celebrated over the world. And therefore, this parliament has the opportunity to reset the Coffee Board of Kenya, give it its arsenal, give it all the specific ingredients that it requires so that Kenyan coffee continues to taste as Kenyan coffee and is traded there and brings a lot of foreign exchange to this country and spurs agricultural development in this country. Honorable Speaker, as well stated by Honorable Mutunga, the Honorable Chair and the member for one of the best constituencies in this country, a professor of agriculture, Honorable Speaker, coffee marketing and trading is well captured in this bill. Coffee, trading, and marketing. The farmers will grow the coffee, but without a robust mechanism providing for trading and marketing of coffee, we may not achieve what we want to achieve as a country. So this bill properly provides for coffee trading and marketing in clauses 49 to 54. In this, Honorable Speaker, is anchored what we would like to do to move from just mere growing of coffee to manufacturing, to marketing, and to the branding of Kenyan coffee so that it becomes the best in the world, and therefore benefiting this country. And this government has invested a lot of money in terms of developing this sector. And the payoff can only come, Honorable Speaker, if coffee is properly traded and marketed to ensure that we take our center stage, Honorable Speaker, in the world. Honorable Speaker, a lot of crops provided for, and I know, Honorable Speaker, you brought something amazing here once about pest control and uses of, all those pesticides and all that. But this speaks to quality assurance. You see, this bill provides for proper quality assurance of coffee to ensure that coffee, we do not just grow coffee, market coffee, but we grow quality coffee, market quality coffee, and the world drink quality coffee. And that's why in clauses 60 to 62 of this bill, Honorable Speaker, is provided for quality assurance mechanism to ensure that coffee imports conform to standards prescribed by laws, not only in the country, but also international standard, so that our coffee stands out. Honorable Speaker, research. A lot of the crops in this country have failed because as we started these crops over the years, research was not being done. Research was not funded, and therefore there wasn't any research output to make the product better. But Honorable Speaker, if you look at this bill, within clauses 69 to 74, this bill provides for Coffee Research and Training Institute of Kenya, a body, corporate, an institute that will ensure proper research is done on coffee variety, on coffee, all aspects of coffee to ensure that there is growth of the industry. The lack of research in a crop means that that crop will be stunted. But if you have proper research and research institutes, then if new varieties will come, the upgrade of the crop will come in, and new products will even be established to ensure that this crop that is important to not only Kenya but also the world continues to grow and continues to be a better crop. Honorable Speaker, in this bill, transitional clauses are provided because we want to move from AFA to Coffee Board of Kenya, or move the crop from AFA, the armpit of AFA, to Coffee Board of Kenya. And therefore, it is very important, Honorable Speaker, that we have transitional clauses. So clause 100 to 107, Honorable Speaker, provides for the transition of assets and obligations and Agricultural and Food Authority with respect to the coffee sector, and legal proceedings are provided, Honorable Speaker, reference to written law, staff of the Coffee Directorate and AFA, and all these people, so that people do not start feeling that when this bill is passed, people who are in the Directorate of Coffee and the AFA will lose their jobs. It is taken care of properly in this law, so that no one is scared that when Coffee Board of Kenya is set up, therefore they will lose jobs, they will lose their remuneration, they will lose a lot of things. This bill provides for proper transitional clauses to ensure there is a smooth and seamless movement from AFA to Coffee Board of Kenya. It is provided, Honorable Speaker, in this law. Honorable Speaker, as I conclude, the first schedule to this bill contains provisions relating to the conduct of business and affairs of the Board of Directors, which, Honorable Speaker, are clauses that we find in any other law, and therefore I do not need to belabor that. But I want to say this. In conclusion, this bill will provide a legal framework which will enable the sector to be more profitable in the country, increase efficiency due to reduced bureaucracies and expedited processes, improve the farmer income, which is very important, through fair pricing, better market access, and improved farming techniques, and enhanced global competitiveness as a result of improved quality and innovations. Honorable Speaker, I urge members to support the coffee bill. I know the honorable member, who I'm her doctor, said that I don't know anything about coffee. Now you can see I know so much about coffee. I could even articulate issues of coffee better than she can, or better than they can. Honorable Speaker.
What's your point of order, Honorable Wamushomba?
Madam Speaker, whereas I have no issues with the Deputy Leader of Majority seconding this bill, which I personally support because I am a coffee farmer and I represent farmers, he needs to substantiate. He has said that he's my doctor. In what aspect is he my doctor? Because I am not sure whether I have ever had or seen him practice medicine in any way. So he needs to come out very clearly on records.
I think he meant he has a doctorate in the area of coffee. Okay, proceed. So what do you have to respond?
Honorable Speaker, before I sit down, I actually want to say, and I second. And I also want to second the Honorable Wamushomba to stand up and speak on the bill. I want to second her to do that. Thank you.
Hold
As
on,
her
hold
doctor.
on, Honorable,
Yes.
hold on, Honorable Wamushomba. You're next. So we first have the Honorable Member for Molo, Honorable Honorable Wamushomba, you're such a hurry to debate the bill that I'm forgetting to propose the question. Honorable members, I now propose the question that the Coffee Bill, Senate Bill number 10 of 2023, be read a second time. I think we have the Honorable Member for Molo, Honorable Kuria Kimani.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. First of all, is to congratulate the Leader of Majority Party, the Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah, for bringing up this particular bill, the Coffee Bill of 2023, and the Chair and the Committee of the Departmental Committee on Agriculture for really doing justice to the recommendations made on this bill, and the report that they have tabled this afternoon really speaks a lot that they have the interest of the coffee farmers at heart. Honorable Speaker, I've had a chance to check on various research that has been done by credible institutions such as CARLO, International Coffee Organization, the University of Nairobi, the Coffee Board of Kenya, the Coffee Research Institute, among other reputable research institutions in this republic, on what has been ailing the coffee sector, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there are around 6 reasons or the 6 problem statements that have been said, that have been clearly been agreed upon by these particular research institutions that have been ailing the coffee sector, Honorable Speaker. One of them is the low and volatile prices of coffee. So whereas coffee is such a lucrative plant, especially in the international market, we've seen the price of this coffee both in the national, in the local market and in the international market fluctuate so much that it has led to unpredictable returns for farmers. And this has made farmers either move out from planting coffee or not getting the right returns for this investment, Honorable Speaker. And I was trying to compare that then, how does a coffee bill of 2024 then solve that particular problem of low prices and volatility? Honorable Speaker, I'm very impressed by the recommendation in the bill to introduce guarantee minimum returns that will ensure that the farmers will be assured of their respective prices for their coffee, Honorable Speaker. Further, I will be recommending to the committee and during the committee of the whole of the House to include further amendments to allow the way of ensuring that there is this guarantee minimum returns and stabilization of these prices by using modern forms of hedging against fluctuation in prices, such as using of futures and use of tokenization. Where, Honorable Speaker, with the current technology, it is possible for that coffee farmer in Kiambu or in Morangal from where else in the country to put part of their coffee in the international market through tokenization and get investment and get return and better prices for their coffee through tokenization or through use. Again, this bill is proposing several amendments that will reduce the high cost of production of this particular plant. One of the greatest efforts that the current administration we have seen do is introduction of stabilized fertilizer as one of the ways of subsidizing the production of coffee, Honorable Speaker. In the subsequent amendments that we'll be seeing in this House, especially from the Finance and National Committee, would be to exempt duties and levies on inputs, on other inputs such as pesticides and such as pesticides control, Honorable Speaker, so that we can make the cost, we can reduce the cost of production on this particular product, Honorable Speaker. The other cost that has risen the cost of production for coffee has been lack of access to market, access to credit, Honorable Speaker. But we are happy that this bill again is introducing a farmers stabilization The issue of aging coffee trees has also been targeted, has also been said as one of the reasons why the coffee sector has been Honorable Speaker. Now, the establishment of a research institution and a fund to actually fund that particular research institution then will make sure that the coffee trees or the coffee plants that we avail to our coffee farmers are those trees that these cooperatives are run, Honorable Speaker, because most of these farmers are only able to sell their coffee through their local cooperatives. And when now there is lack of proper corporate governance, these particular cooperatives have actually led to the collapse of this sector and very poor return on investment to the farmers, Honorable Speaker. So this bill now, by it addressing itself this issue of poor corporate management by these cooperatives, will be a great source of relief to our coffee farmers, Honorable Speaker. The issue of pests and disease control has also been a great contributor to the challenges that have been happening around the coffee sector. And again, the establishment of this research institute and proposed funding for this particular institute will now lead to better environmental friendly and cheaper ways of pest and disease control so that farmers can have longer lasting trees and they can have better quality coffee that we're going to give them maximum returns, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, a key challenge has also been said to be that of brokers and middlemen. But however, now this bill is proposing to have direct sales for export and licensing, and therefore farmers now will have a chance to sell directly to the local and national market, and therefore bypassing all those exploitative intermediaries around the coffee sector, Mr. Speaker. So looking at what research has shown as the challenges that they exist in the coffee sector, and looking at what this bill has done, Honorable Speaker, I am convinced that this particular bill has passed by the Agriculture Committee and as recommended in the detailed report the Agricultural Committee has done, is going to be the lifeline that the coffee farmers of this country have been looking forward to, so that those our people in those areas that grow coffee can be able to take their children to school, they can be able to live a good life, they can be able to take care of the expenses, they can be able to look at coffee as an investment and not just think about uprooting them and selling off the land where that coffee has been planted out, because they are going to get a good return on the investment. And as I wind up, Honorable Speaker, Jackie Chan once said that coffee is a language in itself. And I know during this time when there is a lot of political conversation around this country, this quote by Jackie Chan cannot speak to that any better, that coffee is a language by itself. And one Clark Globe said, I never laugh until I've had my coffee. The coffee farmers will not laugh until they've got better returns for their coffee. And I know this will make them get a laugh because they are going to get a good return on the investment on their coffee. With that, I beg to support, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. The Honorable Member for Githunguri, Honorable Gathoni Wamushomba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise on the onset to support this bill because this is a bill that we have been waiting for as coffee farmers, as members of parliament who come from areas where coffee is grown. And this is a bill that some of us have spent quite a lot of time in the making. I remember we attended the Meru Coffee Conference to give our input to the formation of this bill. And I'm very excited that, Madam Speaker, finally, this bill has seen the light of day. And it is my hope and sincere trust that we are going to do all it takes to make sure that the coffee bill becomes a law. Madam Speaker, as a farmer, I want to celebrate the return of the institution that supported many farmers with research in the early 80s, the late 80s, the early 90s, all the way up to the year 2003. This is when the Coffee Research Foundation was functional. And this is the institution that helped us to come up with the right breed and variety of coffee that is disease resistant, that is less expensive for the farmers, and gives the best quality and resistance to a lot of challenges. I am happy that Coffee Research Institute, hoping that it is still going to be domiciled where the Coffee Research Foundation buildings are, and I am happy and excited if it is going to be domiciled there, because majority of the people who worked there were my voters from Githunguri. My constituency borders the institution, and therefore I'll be happy to see this institution domiciled at the border between Roiro and Githunguri constituency. Madam Speaker, I am happy because finally, coffee farmers will have seedlings. They will have support of research that is needed so that the varieties that they are going to continue planting are the right varieties that are going to give them the returns. Madam Speaker, I'm also very excited because I can see the bill has proposed the return of Coffee Board of Kenya. The institution that excelled coffee farming in Kenya in the early 2000s and the late 1990s, when our farmers earned a lot of money from the marketing activities that were done by the Coffee Board of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I am excited as a coffee farmer that this Coffee Board of Kenya is not only going to help us in profiling our coffee in the right way, but also represent us ably in the international market platforms where we have failed to market our coffee. I am excited as a farmer that the aspect of introducing direct sales for Kenyan coffee farmers is now something that is acceptable by law. The farmers who have capacity to market their coffee directly are now allowed by law, if this bill becomes a law, so that the farmers can experience the aspect and the pride of marketing their quality coffee anywhere in the world. Mr. Speaker, I am also happy that the DSS, the direct settlement system, has been entrenched in law by this bill. This is a system that is going to allow coffee farmers to receive their money from any sale directly in their account without going through a roundabout of many other intermediaries who are taking away farmers' money. So this DSS, even as we welcome it, it is my hope and sincere hope that we are also going to be creating a very transparent system of DSS so that we don't deduct farmers' money with so many other unexplained deductions. Mr. Speaker, I seek for an opportunity to bring a few amendments to this bill. In as much as I am supporting it, there are areas I feel that we need to put amendments so that we align ourselves with the activities of the farmer. Mr. Speaker, I still do not understand why Coffee Board of Kenya has to be domiciled in Nairobi, yet all the farmers who practice coffee farming are not in Nairobi. Why can't the main headquarters of Coffee Board of Kenya be domiciled in Meru, in Nyeri, in Trans Nzoia, in Baringo, where we also have coffee? Why must we bring Coffee Board of Kenya offices in Nairobi, yet the farmers are in the villages? Let us be considerate that coffee is a rural crop, and you don't have to bring the headquarters of Coffee Board in Nairobi for you to be seen to be working. So I promise to bring an amendment because I feel we punish our farmers through the logistics of coming to Nairobi when they don't have to. Mr. Speaker, I also don't understand why coffee as a sector, as a subsector, has to be subjected to the bureaucracies of 4 ministries. For you to be able to achieve anything in the coffee subsector, coffee is under trade, it is under Ministry of Cooperative, Ministry of Agriculture, and Treasury. And by the way, also county government is involved. So whenever farmers, coffee farmers want something, they have to be staggered in all those 4 ministries for them to be able to achieve anything. Why can't we domicile coffee in 1 ministry? Why can't we say every other activity of coffee is under 1 ministry called Ministry of Agriculture or Ministry of Cooperative? And final, these bureaucracies, Mr. Speaker, create a lot of delays. Nothing moves. Bureaucracies after bureaucracies. So I'll bring an amendment. I hope I will succeed so that we can streamline the functionality of this subsector. Mr. Speaker, last but not last, there is a clause that indicates that for any farmer to cut down a coffee tree, you must get authorization from the county government through the county executive minister. That, to me, is very oppressive. Why must you force a farmer to go and line up in the county government offices if they want to uproot their coffee and plant a new breed? Currently, I'm a coffee farmer. I am already uprooting my old trees to put the new variety because the weather has changed. Do I have to go to the county executive minister of Kiabu County for me to uproot my coffee? This is punitive, and we must not go through that route. So I will put amendment. I hope I will succeed so that I can be able to streamline that idea. Mr. Speaker, finally, I cannot keep quiet when we are introducing levies after levies in the coffee sector. It is good that we have brought back the CRF, Coffee Research Institute. It is good that we have brought back Coffee Board of Kenya. It is good that we have introduced county government as a key player. But already the county government are taxing farmers through licensing the pulping centers. If the farmer is already paying a levy for a pumping center to be licensed, why does that farmer has to pay another levy when they sell their coffee? This is double taxation, and it will not happen. So I will still and urge this House to allow us to make amendments so that farmers do not pay double levies in their value chain of coffee. I am excited that after many political games and dances that have been going around the coffee sector, finally this coffee bill, Senate bill of number 10 has seen the light of day. We are debating this bill, and I am hopeful that the coffee farmers are finally going to get the value for the energy they put in the coffee sector. And before I conclude, Mr. Speaker, coffee is a serious crop in this country that brings a lot of revenue in Kenya. By the way, coffee sector is supposed to be a ministry by its own, based on the amount of money coffee generates in this country. I still don't understand why we play politics with coffee. I still don't understand why we see like we are over favoring coffee farmers. That the money that we have allocated in this House as coffee revolving advance charity fund can be reallocated by one public officer without seeking for clearance from this House or clearing or getting opinion from the farmers, and write a letter expressingly reallocating coffee monies to other sectors. Whereas I don't have a problem with other people receiving money, coffee money must be respected, and coffee farmers must be respected. Anybody trying to play around with coffee farmers' money must be told and be reminded, it is the coffee sector that brought the development you see in some of these White Highlands areas you see of Kericho, areas of Baringo, areas of Nyeri, areas of Kiambu, and we cannot take coffee farmers for granted anymore. And therefore, we are still requesting and waiting for the public permanent secretary in charge of cooperative to tell us that letter that is circulating around, showing and indicating that he intended to divert 1.5 billion shillings, money meant for coffee farmers, to other sectors without clearance of this House. Who gave it?
Yes, the Honorable Mutunga, what's your point of order?
Honorable Speaker, I'm wondering whether the member is in order to tag along the name and the docket of the PS cooperatives here, and he has no opportunity to defend himself. Honorable Speaker, ministries have the authority to manage their resources as per the guidelines given to them and the PFM Act. So why is this thing being dragged along here? Honorable Speaker, is that in order?
Order, Honorable Mutunga. The Honorable Lady has the absolute right to question the institution of the permanent secretary. She did not name names, but that's an office. And if she has her own issues with that, she has the right to bring up that on the floor of the House. Regardless of whether that is going to directly affect the minister himself, the cabinet secretary, or the PS, or any other minister, any other person who works in the ministry. The honorable, order, this is, we are past that. The Honorable Maina Madenge. Order, Honorable Mutunga. Order, Honorable Mutunga.
Honorable Speaker, I stand to support this motion.
Proceed, Madenge.
Honorable Speaker, today is a great day for coffee farmers. Now that this bill is being debated in this House, and it will no longer be used on the rooftops of vehicles by politics and politicians who are trying to drive a certain narrative in the Mount Kenya region where coffee is mainly grown. There have been accusations that the majority leader in this House being falsely and unfairly accused of frustrating a bill that had not even gotten to the floor of this House. Well, senior members who have been here long enough know the procedure of Parliament and the way bills are processed. So today, I'm a happy member of this House and also a happy chair of the Parliamentary Coffee Caucus. Honorable Speaker, the regeneration of the Kenya coffee industry has come at a time of great challenges. The coffee growing areas
and land has shrunk tremendously. The production per tree has gone down. Farmers have been pushed at the periphery of the coffee trade. This bill brings back farmers as major players in the trading of the coffee commodity. Honorable Speaker, the coming back of the reestablishment of the Coffee Research Institute at a time when farmers are faced with the effects of climate change, the effects of new diseases and pesticides, and declining production, the need to regenerate the aging coffee bushes could not have come at a better time. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, I allowed this bill for bringing back the Coffee Research Institute. However, Honorable Speaker, I still feel that in the same way we fund research at Kemri, in the same way we fund research at Karo, the coffee farmer, because this is a key crop for this country, a key foreign exchange earner, the coffee farmer must also be supported by the exchequer in reviving the research which has been largely dormant for over 10 years. Honorable Speaker, a number of regulators are still active in the coffee value chain, from county governments, the Capital Markets Authority, and the board. It is important for, especially in the coffee trade at the Nairobi Coffee Auction and the Nairobi Coffee Exchange, which is regulated by the Capital Markets Authority, that there is simplicity, clarity, and speed in resolving issues that have either been raised by traders or by the authority itself. Honorable Speaker, it is not possible and tenable in this era of accountability and transparency for the Capital Markets Authority to raise a question to be responded for by a coffee broker, give them 7 days to respond, yet sit on the same communication in resolving it for more than 21 days. That is being an impediment to coffee trade. Honorable Speaker, the best prices by our coffee farmers are fetched through direct sales. Direct sales must be allowed to thrive and not frustrated in this country. That is where our farmers are able to get better prices over and above the prices at the auction. Direct sales must be allowed to complement the sales at the Nairobi Coffee Exchange. And therefore, the clarity to the route to the market for direct sales, clarity for settlement, and speedy resolution, and the number of bureaucracies and the number of offices required lying in between the conclusion and the agreement of the price and the export of the commodity by the buyer must be streamlined and simplified. In fact, ideally, we should see in this law direct sales having a one-stop shop. Honorable Speaker, the coffee farmer during his heydays had the Kenya Planters Cooperative Union. Those assets were mismanaged. And even the coming back of the coffee board, we must ensure that the membership of the board does not also run into the same problems that KPCU ran. New KPCU today is a parastatal, and the question of how this parastatal will continue to operate alongside the coffee board needs to be clarified. Honorable Speaker, the milling capacity in this country has been competing for very low volumes. And the area of milling has been used traditionally. Actually, the milling area had been the home and the den of cartels. Whereas the new reforms have disrupted the horizontal integration. Honorable Speaker, we cannot remove the old cartels and create a new dominant cartel to carry out the same roles that we were saying have caused suffering to the farmers. Honorable Speaker, it is not possible for millers and brokerage agents and brokerage firms to participate in direct trade, in direct sales, and therefore we must provide for punitive penalties for the players who violate the provisions of this law. Honorable Speaker, the question of financing production of coffee is central to the revival of the coffee business in this country. And therefore, we must have clarity and predictable subsidy program for coffee farmers. This sector requires a rebirth, it requires to be revived, and we have to make deliberate steps to support the coffee farmer better. I want to congratulate the Kenya Kwanza government for continuation of the Sheriff Fund, but it is also important and paramount that we craft support for farm inputs and agronomy services. Extension services and the county governments have gone to the dogs. It is imperative that if we are reviving this sector, that the national government intervenes or provides clear guidelines for collaboration in supporting farmers with better agronomy services. Honorable Speaker, the most interesting part is the marketing and selling aspect. In this country, coffee sales and coffee purchase is dominated by about 6 large companies. Those large companies have crowded out any small players who would want to come and provide and offer competition. Then Nairobi Coffee Exchange must deliberately open the route for the small players who will buy small volumes at premium prices to come and compete in that space. Alternatively, we must create a deliberate path for those small players to go directly to our wet mills and our cooperatives and purchase our coffee directly from our farmers. Honorable Speaker, I support.
The Honorable Member of Parliament for Kirinyaga and Jerry.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I rise to support this bill. Honorable Speaker, I stand here as a good example and a beneficiary of proceeds of coffee. My humble parents from Kirinyaga County used to farm or engage in coffee farming, and those are the proceeds that took me through school. Honorable Speaker, allow me to first recognize the meticulous work done by the Senate Committee on Agriculture, led by Honorable Kamau Morango, the Senator of Kirinyaga County. Honorable Speaker, it goes without saying that for a long time, coffee farmers have not been getting their dues. Honorable Speaker, Kirinyaga County produces some of the best coffee famed for its aroma. Notably, Rongeto Factory from Geshogo constituency fetched Kenya shillings 1,715 per kg for their AA grade in the last year at the NCE. Honorable Speaker, despite the challenges that have been there in the coffee sector, this bill now seeks to address some of the pertinent issues so that coffee farmers can finally enjoy the proceeds of their work. It is worth noting, Honorable Speaker, that governance has been a major challenge in the coffee sector. As we discuss and debate the Coffee Bill, Honorable Speaker, 2023, it is also important to remember that we must also fast track as a House the Cooperatives Bill that will address most of the issues that occur in the governance sector of coffee. Honorable Speaker, recently in Kirinyaga County, we saw protests in various cooperatives, notably Kiberege Coffee Farmers Cooperative and Mutira Coffee Farmers Cooperative. due to governance issues that have denied farmers their dues and loopholes that are exploited to ensure that they do not get what is owed to them. Honorable Speaker, we must go an extra mile to ensure that as we push for direct sales, Honorable Speaker, so that coffee farmers can be able to market their coffee and sell it directly to any willing buyer, bypassing intermediaries that often manipulate market prices and take advantage of them, that we also address concerns that coffee cooperatives are facing at the county level in terms of infrastructure, Honorable Speaker, which is the duty of the county, Honorable Speaker. We must also address issues of farmhand inputs, Honorable Speaker. We know that we had a very robust fertilizer program, Honorable Speaker, but as I speak, farmers of Kiberegwe Coffee Cooperative Society, Honorable Speaker, do not have the necessary farmhand inputs to ensure that they are also able to grow the crop and maximize the output on their farms. Honorable Speaker, it is worth noting that Clause 47 introduces a levy, a purported levy to be paid to the county governments that is supposed to maintain the society factories infrastructure. However, Honorable Speaker, county governments have proven from time to time that even once they get these funds, they do not have the goodwill to ensure that the funds are applied and are not diverted. Currently, as I speak, county governments have what we call NAGRIP, that is supposed to facilitate agricultural infrastructure and also offer extension officers at the local level to support farmers so that they can increase their output. However, the same is never applied at the county level. So we must check some of the issues that have been raised or rather introduced by the coffee bill that will not address the challenges the farmers have been facing. Perhaps the national government can come to a common ground with the county government on what duties can be undertaken by national government and what the county governments have the capacity to do. Honorable Speaker, we must also streamline the sector in ensuring that farmers are not exploited merely because perhaps they are not able to read the many documents that are presented during the AGMs, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, any coffee farmer who has attended an AGM can tell you the tedious documentation, the hidden charges in terms of marketing, in terms of transport that is charged in dollars, whereas it is transport at the local level. And all these concerns, Honorable Speaker, the bureaucracy involved in it must be lessened so that the farmer is able to examine any documentation that is presented during the annual general meetings and be able to make even informed decisions when they are giving borrowing power to the societies, Honorable Speaker. In recent times, Honorable Speaker, we have seen protests by coffee farmers arising out of instances where borrowing power has been abused by the societies or the cooperatives, Honorable Speaker, where there has been conflict of interest, where some board members also sit in some unscrupulous circles and they borrow money purporting to have borrowing authority from the coffee farmers who do not understand the documentation and the hefty documents that are provided during AGMs, Honorable Speaker. And then mysteriously, the circles collapse. Honorable Speaker, these pertinent issues, if they're not addressed, even if we have robust law allowing farmers to have direct sale, yet governance issues are not addressed, coffee farmers will continue to suffer. Honorable Speaker, my colleague, the member for Manyata constituency, who's a chairperson KYPA, and I will be proposing some of these amendments to address governance issues and ensure that farmers get what is due to them. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Melly. Proceed, Honorable Melly. Give me the mic.
I lost my card, so I don't
Yeah, you have the mic next to you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want first of all to commend the Committee of Agriculture, led by the member, Dr. Mutunga, for really bringing this bill, which it is long overdue. This is the bill that, Honorable Speaker, the Committee of Agriculture of the 12th Parliament, we did deliberate and move around the country to really make sure that the coffee farmer in this country is really gets his dues. Honorable Speaker, as we discuss this bill, I want to say that coffee farmers in this country, or coffee farming, supports almost 1 million households, smallholder. It is the crop that has been called in Kenya the black gold of the 80s. It is because of that in the 80s and most parts of the 90s, Mr. Speaker, coffee was actually a top crop in this country. But due to mismanagement and the competition in the global market, coffee has actually gone down. But I want to thank the committee because they to bring in the coffee board. Honorable Speaker, AFA, through the Crop Act of 2011, has decided to lump all major crops under one particular act: sugar, tea, and coffee. And therefore, it lacked the attention that it deserved. This bill is actually trying to tell the government and the players in the industry that coffee is a major crop and the government needs to have very has a number of issues that are supposed to assist farmers. One of it is the coffee fund. One of it is the coffee cherry development fund, which every time during picking of the crop, and I want to tell this house that coffee is a labor-intensive crop, which needs a lot of laborers during picking, mostly. And if the farmers do not get money that time, the crop goes to waste. And this bill has tried to address that, and more importantly, to also make sure that coffee has its own chapter, has its own place in the agriculture sector. Two, Honorable Speaker, in clauses 22 to 25, the bill tries to bring in the local coffee laws to ensure that issues of licensing of the various coffee processing plants or cherry plants. In my constituency, Honorable Speaker, Tindred has over 30 coffee processing small factories. And every other time, because of lack of the relevant laws, the bill from clauses 26 to 35 actually looks at the production, registration of various operators, growers, dealers, roasters,